Good afternoon to you and to our viewers at home. We are at Arnot Power Station in Middelburg, Mpumalanga, where the Minister of Electricity, Dr Kgosientsho Ramokgopa, just concluded his talks with management, unions and the employees. Earlier on, he was addressing the employees and encouraging them to carry on working hard on the ground to ensure that South Africans are not faced with load shedding. And obviously, as we know, this is not the first time that he's come to this particular power station. It's actually his second visit. But I'm going to ask him to just elaborate more on what he heard and what he has found. Minister, thank you so much for your time. If you can just tell us, you came here earlier on in there to introduce yourself and to also find out the issues. If you can just tell us what you found today. Are you happy? What is the plan moving forward?
No, thank you very much, and to the viewers back at home. I think when I was here the first time, the intention was twofold. First, to introduce myself as a minister responsible for electricity, but secondly, just to get an understanding on what are some of the pertinent issues that are undermining our ability to resolve load shedding. So do station by station, unit by unit, and discover also what is the kind of assistance that will be required from the minister to be able to help this recovery process. We put together a consolidated report of all the 14 power stations, went to cabinet and said these are some of the interventions that are required, including amongst others the delayed decommissioning of some of the units which we achieved. Now we are here. I'm here to say to management, first is that we are very grateful for the work that they are doing, and the ordinary employees. They are the coalface of the resolution of this problem. We came out of a very difficult winter, relatively unscathed compared to our worst case projection of stage 8+, and it's as a result of the work, tireless work of these men and women. So just to say thank you on behalf of cabinet. But that's not enough. We are not out of the woods yet. We are still experiencing load shedding. But just to say, Arnold, when I was here the last time, the EAF was at 54%. Now it has deteriorated. It's at about 48%. And that's why it's important you must go station to station, because when I give you an average picture, Eskom, we are seeing an improvement, but it's hiding the underperformance of some of the stations, including Arnold. Then they were able to take me through. There were issues with Unit 6, issues around boiler tube leaks. This is what we are doing. We are confident that over this period, we'll get back to 54 and even exceed it. These are the interventions we are making. So it's important that, one, we take collective responsibility at the managerial level. There's direct account of where we are, but the interventions that we are making. When we add all of these things together, you'll see that load shedding, the intensity will go down because we are improving performance. But the employees are very key. Said with labor, said with general employees. They are the ones who must put the shoulder to the wheel. Where the issues of performance-related bonuses is resolved, the incentives are in place. There is no reason why a station like Arnold, although it's 51 years of age, can be performing at about 48%. And that's why it's important we go unit by unit. And in fact, as I was here, they retained one unit. It's just a coincidence. But that's the point I'm making. And they were able to share with me these are the delays as a result of the following, and this is how we are addressing it going into the future. And in this way, that's how we're going to resolve load shedding. It's not going to be resolved sitting in the boardrooms, wearing ties, having long extended meetings. It's here where the rubber hits the road, and that's why we are on the ground together with management.
We are moving to December, and you gave yourself until the 31st actually to get rid of load shedding. Are you still confident?
Oh, yes, we're confident about reducing the intensity of load shedding. That much we are more than confident. I did say Kusile Unit 2 is coming back the third week of November. Unit 5 Kusile, third week of December. We'll see improvements in Arnold and many other places. And then new generation capacity. Don't forget it. Because it's not just Eskom that's going to resolve the problem. You need new generation capacity. That's why you need to accelerate the new pit windows. That's why we need to invest in transmission infrastructure to allow for the evacuation of the electrons, especially in areas of low exhausted grid capacity. So if you like, it's a totality of these interventions. But to your questions, I'm more than confident about reducing the intensity of load shedding.
And Minister, where's the money going to come from? You spoke about 500 billion. Also, where is that money going to come from?
Yes, that's largely on the transmission side. The numbers suggest that you'll need anything between 390 billion to about 500 billion rands to be able to expand transmission by about 14,000 kilometers. Eskom is not sitting on that balance sheet. You heard from the medium-term budget policy statement, we are running short of a fiscal runway. So we need to find alternative, creative, innovative financing instruments that have been tried and tested. That's why we held the transmission financing seminar, JSE, brought together the financing houses, people in the financial fraternity, brought the peer countries, Brazil, Chile and Peru, who have done it before. And now I'm happy to say to you, we're at the final stages of taking a report to Cabinet to say this is how we think we can finance this. It's a big ticket investment. ESCOM and the Treasury just doesn't have that money. But at the end, the state must be responsible for transmission infrastructure, must not relinquish ownership, must ensure that you don't overburden the end user from a tariff structure to compensate from whatever instrument you have opted for. The system operator at Megawatt Park should be responsible for the overall management of the grid. That will not relinquish. Those are minimum principles, and I'm happy that will come with what I think is a possible solution, and we will be very aggressive in rolling out transmission infrastructure.
Last two questions from me. You spoke about Transnet, the economy, and also on the issue of solar power. What can we do to ensure that we assist, in making sure that we have electricity and all that?
Well, part of the mix does acknowledge, if you look at the Energy Action Plan, the aggressive rollout of rooftop solar solution, industry and households, the incentives are in place. We think that there's a need for us to rethink those incentives, the period of the incentives, the scope of the incentives, not just to be restricted to solar PV, but also the big ticket capital items like battery and inverters. And in that way, we are going to stimulate a new industry. We are going to stimulate the market, and then we can industrialize on the back of that. And that's why we think that the rethinking of those incentives, introduction of other financing instruments, working with the private sector to make it possible for poor households to get access to renewable energy solutions is key to ensuring that there's parity, there's equity in how people are able to access this solution. So we are confident about the measures that we'll be introducing to address the energy crisis.
Okay, I lied. Last question. You're visiting other stations tomorrow and during the week. What are you expecting to find, or what are you hoping to see in those different stations?
That the situation is better than what I found the last time I was there. That the set of interventions they promised to put in place, they've indeed put in place and have resulted in a positive outcome. And if there are new emergent issues, they must bring it to my attention so that collectively we are able to resolve this problem station by station, unit by unit, and I'm confident about our ability to resolve the challenge.
Thank you so much, Minister, for your time. There was Minister of Electricity Dr Kgosientsho Ramokgopa just telling us that he came to this station in March and he was told of the issues that they have here, and he put intervention programs in place for them to try and come back and do better as a station. He says though that the grade has actually dropped from what it was when he came here, but he's hoping that moving forward the station is going to do better. He's also saying that he's also going to visit other stations across the province, and he hopes to find that they're doing better and they're in a better position or state than what he found when he actually or initially visited those stations earlier on in March. Remember, he came to these stations to introduce himself and also find out what their problems are and how they can help in resolving these issues that these stations face. Remember, once these stations have a problem, it means South Africans are facing blackouts. He also made mention of the fact that the stations are doing so well that instead of moving to stage 8 of load shedding in winter, we stuck at stage 6, and that shows that there was some sort of improvement in terms of the intervention programs that he had put in place.